BBNO money? I've never heard of this. What is this?
What? The musician.
BBNO money?
BBNO $.
BBN. Oh my gosh, I've been saying that wrong for a long time.
You're saying
That's
BBNOs?
embarrassing.
I want to send him a clip of this.
I want to talk about what makes a Fortnite experience sticky and replayable in your eyes.
Well, first thing, XP, obviously. But
So you're not just a game developer running a studio, you do stand-up.
and that should happen like almost instantaneously, so they can just jump in and get started right away. Like time to fun should be as short as possible.
Literally, that's great advice. Seriously, anyone listening, that's one of the most important pieces of advice.
But just like to reignite that like OG creative that excited a lot of us, that got us excited about building stuff in Fortnite.
I think that's one of the like number one asks from a lot of creators. Like, bring it back. Why haven't you brought it back?
I don't know necessarily that, like I didn't clear it with the team, so I don't know if I should mention it. But we were working on a couple of really cool.
Welcome back to the Creative Juice Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Zanazzo, or better known as Immature Gamer, and this episode is stacked from start to finish. We kick things off with a special segment recorded live at Unreal Fest in Orlando and sponsored by Epic Games. I caught up with some of the top Fortnite creators and influencers right after the State of Unreal keynote to get their first reaction and honest takes on all the new tools, features, and announcements that are about to shake up the ecosystem. After the live reactions, stick around for a deep dive interview with JJ Armstrong, COO of 404 Creative. JJ has helped build some of the most played maps in major brand collabs in Fortnite, including work with Creed 3, ESL, Rocket League, Death Row Records, and Epic Games. We talk about 404 Creative's journey, what it takes to stand out, and why representation and community matters now more than ever. Whether you're a developer, a brand, an IP, or a builder with the next big idea, this episode is full of real talk and actionable insight. Let's just get into it. First up, live creator reactions from Unreal Fest, then my sit down with JJ Armstrong of 404 Creative. Which State of Unreal announcement has you fired up the most?
The most exciting announcement from the State of Unreal was probably Scene Graph, and that we're getting it so soon. But I also think all the new IPs and actually getting to play with the whole Star Wars toy box is going to be incredible. So,
the thing I'm most excited for is Scene Graph. I've been waiting for that for a long time. So I'm excited that they've got the core down with Scene Graph, and we're going to be able to see a lot of future developments with that.
Dude, the most exciting one. I think I definitely have to say like the AI assistant model that they're working on to help developers with questions that they have in UEFN, and particularly for me, Verse. Because I've always loved Verse and I'm very interested in it, but I'm thinking that can be the thing that finally gets me to start using Verse, and then maybe I can make some projects more myself.
I am super excited about the IP partnerships, and the Verse AI assistant is going to be a game changer.
For me, the most exciting announcement is definitely the AI coming. There's unlimited potential for games and endless possibilities.
It's got to be the analytics. I run FCHQ, and the 9th, we're going to have that up on every map page. You'll be going to be able to compare your stats with other maps. You're going to like have a good metric to hit. Like, my competitor is getting 24% day one retention. Mine's only 12%. What can I do to increase that? That's going to be a game changer for creators.
Which new IP are you hyped to build with?
Ooh, that's really tough. I think Avatar and Star Wars for sure. And the Squid Games will be fun. Don't get me wrong. Just if you made me pick.
I'm excited to see Fode and our IP cross-pollinate with some of these legendary other IPs, and I think there's going to be some fun surprises in Squid Game and Star Wars.
Squid Games is a little unknown. We don't know exactly the items because it's a little surprise, so I think that's going to be the most exciting to know about. But so far, Avatar would definitely be the best. Those mythics were super fun. The VR, the earth and water bending were like, they were meta.
Well, I think the audience reaction is really going to judge this one here, and it's going to be Avatar. I think people like love Star Wars, but they've had a lot of Star Wars a lot recently. People love those Avatar powers, and I want to get in there and play with those as well.
Lego brick by brick building is coming. Why is this such a big deal?
So Lego brick by brick building is going to be so cool. I think from the dawn of when Lego Fortnite has come out, I remember playing with my wife, Samara, and she was like, I just want to build each little individual one. And for that finally to come to the game, I think it's going to be absolutely incredible.
I'm really excited because I'm releasing a Lego map really soon, Brick Pirate Simulator. And it's so nice because there aren't any brick Lego prefabs for pirate stuff. And so now I can build my own crates, Lego pirate things, objects, and whatever I want. So it's fantastic that we now have that freedom.
I think I'm just excited about like the extra level of creativity that you get. You know, that's something that I had hoped for when Lego was first announced, and we knew that we had the tool set with it. And I'm a big Lego guy. I got a ton of them at home, you know, but I liked when I was younger just like taking the little pieces out of the box and just like finding new things that I could do with the things that I had. And so now that creativity is kind of there for newer developers that are interested in the space. Make something new, make something crazy. Like, let's go.
To finally like build individual things, like they use a heart, but you could build like really complex structures. It's pretty much building Legos in UEFN, so it's like endless, and it seems like you can make anything you want, which is pretty cool.
Epic announced the new AI Verse Developer Assistant. What does this mean for creators?
I think the Epic Developer Assistant will play like a huge role, especially when it comes to creating small tasks. Like, I imagine larger tasks, it will be a bit more complicated to get it right, but small things, and especially people that maybe aren't as knowledgeable in Verse, just how do I do this little thing? Like, just, I want to do this one thing, and I think the Epic Developer Assistant will be very helpful when it comes to that.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's what we were using at my last job, is just like for seasoned Verse developers and coders, it's going to be a tool to like help us like kind of like frame stuff, picture. I don't think it's going to be used in every scenario, but I think the best use is for beginners. It'll help them like when they want to make a basic map, it'll start clicking like what goes to what, and I think it's going to really accelerate the whole UEFN developers that can't get into Verse or it's too overwhelming. Like, this is a great starting point for them.
This is going to severely boost our workflows as Verse developers. The complexity of games often takes a lot of time to develop, but having these pieces developed faster means that we can splice together games at a rapid pace. I'm really curious to see what it can do outside of Verse, like if it can handle complex things like materials and control rig, and see like what advice it can give there.
What are your thoughts on the new AI-powered NPC persona device coming to UEFN?
I mean, this can make for some really great like collaborative experiences, or people are creating unique puzzles or interactions throughout their game, and good storytelling, and just it just opens up such a wide variety of different ways they can interact and use now their voice chatter. AI it's really powerful, so I'm really interested to see what people do.
That one was super cool. I think I really want to see an escape room where there's like a British person, you tell the AI to be a little bit mean. That gives hints to the players. So each room, if you're stuck, the AI will be a little bit mean to you and tell you, like, you're supposed to be at that obvious red door on the right.
I think this is tech that's going to be, like, all of these big companies are working with AI, you know, and Epic's really bold in showing it and sharing it and being transparent about how they're using it. But also they're doing this with Disney first, which they're very protective of their brand. So like, I think like what's crazy about this is they're picking the right partners to showcase it to where it doesn't hurt the blow of like people that might have a negative reaction to AI. And I think hopefully it will show people that like these are tools that will enhance everything we make, not tools that are replacing necessarily. So I'm stoked. Like, I can't wait to actually get in there. I think we'll see a lot of Portal 2, like Stanley Parable type of, you know, games that we couldn't really do because we would record a bunch of stuff and that would just take up so much space. Where now we can just like create a few prompts and let the AI like participate in our world. So really exciting.
After hearing all of these announcements, where is Fortnite Creative heading next?
I think we're going to see a surge of new creators entering the ecosystem. I think we're going to see new players overall. There's going to be a lot of growth and a lot of amazing new content, and we're super excited to be a part of it.
I mean, I think it's a good step in the right direction, especially with AI. Like, I love that they're utilizing it in the right way to help people learn and expand their capabilities. If maybe they struggle with Verse, or even just the Persona device, I think is a great step forward. And I think all the new IP that's coming on, just great steps in the right direction of expanding this ecosystem.
I think this is all just constantly in the right direction. They're just helping us they're letting us build our own games like to the max. Like, we can use Star Wars, we can use Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's build whatever you want. It's not Fortnite, it's anything.
We're all heading into a place where everybody wants to be involved with Fortnite, and that funnel to get everyone in is getting wider and wider and wider. Before it would be like, you can only get an icon skin, you can only get a collaboration, you could only go through the battle pass, and the laundry list would get longer and longer and longer. Giving creators tools gives opportunities like my company to help widen that gap to get things into the ecosystem like never before. So us working with like X and his team and bringing them into Fortnite in a really incredible experience is something that we can do, and it's available to us. So I do think like the future of collaboration is going to be so exciting, not only for people creating things, but for people who want to enter the space. So once we see that widen, I think it's just going to become better and better and better for everybody involved with it.
This segment is presented by Epic Games. You can catch the full State of Unreal replay through the link below. Stay tuned, my chat with JJ Armstrong starts now. I think we're live. How is it going?
It's going good, as good as it can be right now. We're about to head into Unreal Fest. So excited about that.
Yes. No, can't wait. Well, let's just get started. We definitely have some really fun questions, and you have an amazing story. Same with your team that you've created, Team 404. You're an original 1.0 creator. You've worked with some of the biggest brands in this space. You've been thought leaders. You've been talked. You were at Unreal Fest last year. You were a keynote speaker. That was last year, right?
That was the first year. That was 2023, actually.
Oh,
crazy, right?
Still, that was amazing, and congrats on that. I was like, wow, I would have been up there so nervous.
I was so nervous, but I mean, I was nervous, but I was, it was a great experience. I wouldn't change anything about it.
Amazing. So yeah, we have so many cool things to get into about your journey, and I can't wait. So as always, we're going to start with day one. So the question today is, what first sparked your interest in building in Fortnite creative? Like, how did you ever picture it becoming a full-time gig? And how did that path lead to co-founding Team 404?
I never expected it to, 6 years later now, looking back, I never expected it to lead here. But I had gotten a PlayStation just that year for Christmas and super excited about it. And Fortnite was, all the rage. It was pretty new. So I got into playing that, and then I discovered the creative mode, and I was so excited because it brought me back to roller coaster tycoon days and those, building your own worlds and just being able to play around and just build whatever you were, thinking about, right? So that's kind of how I started. I just was dabbling with looking on Reddit to see what people were building and trying to just make something cool. Actually, it was the block submissions early on that really started to excite me, and I probably built 6 of them and never got accepted. But
me neither.
I know, but one of my favorite ones that I still think about this one, but now it would be so easy to recreate something like this. But I built I hand sculpted with those ice pieces, that ice gallery. Yeah. I called it Mount Jonesmore, and it was a big Bunker Jonesy, with the whole beard coming down, and then a whole environment built around it. It was it's one of my. It always comes up on my phone as your memories, and I'm I love that one.
You have to send me. Do you have the video?
I probably somewhere.
You have to send it to me. I'll put it on screen so people want to check that out.
Yeah, it's cool. It's one of them. I don't know. I had a lot of fun. Built just replicating that. I think I did a llama sculpture. I did a Durburger sculpture. Yeah, Bunker Jonesy. There's a couple others I can't remember, but it was pretty fun.
That is still the only accomplishment in Fortnite creative I've never had. I was I keep telling Epic, bring it back so I can try.
I really wish they would. I would love if they brought back the block or something like that. Just something for creators to get into Battle Royale. I think that would just be number one, it would be great for exposure. And spreading the word about yourself as a creator, your brand or your studio, whatever it might be. But just to reignite that creativity, that OG creativity that excited a lot of us, that got us excited about building stuff in Fortnite.
I think that's one of the number one asks from a lot of creators. Bring it back. Why haven't you brought it back? They brought it back, or they kind of, what was it? It wasn't the block though. You kind of can make
it was the tilted stuff.
Yeah, you could make a little POI in popular Fortnite POIs, and I remember it didn't last long because I remember what happened was
it only did once. I think
it only did it once.
Maybe twice, but
maybe I think only 3 or 4 creators, if I recall, got it.
Yeah.
And it was cool, but I remember one of the creators, they put a like a ammo box in front of like they actually gave you a supporter creator.
Yeah, I
there.
remember that.
Remember, like, and it made people like support that person. Oh man, they probably made so much,
They
so
made
much
bank,
money
I
off.
guarantee it.
in-
Oh my god, I remember those. Like the supporter creator button days. Oh my goodness.
Those
I
are
don't
long.
necessarily miss that, but I do kind of miss that.
I miss it and don't. We had to really design your games around that, and some used trickery to trick kids into pressing it. Some didn't, but it those days are over. But I love your answer, and yeah, there's lots of things like in the OG days that which we can bring back. But like I want to bring this up, and I think it's really really cool, and I'm kind of jealous that you've taken this maybe not a career path, but basically talking about comedy meets gaming. So you're not just a game developer running a studio. You've got a mic in hand and kind of a side hustle. So you do stand-up. How has being on stage shaped the way you lead or create in the studio? Which is more nerve-wracking for you, bombing a set or like launching a new game or something?
So yeah, it's an interesting question. So I've had this people ask me before from the other side of like, how does your gaming influence the comedy? And I find that that's a little bit stronger. So, well, at least with the public speaking that I've done. So I always tell people that I'm not worried about bombing a set necessarily, because I've got plenty of experience giving a speech or giving a talk to people and they're not laughing.
That's
You know what I mean? Like they're not supposed to laugh. If I get a laugh, great. But if I don't, then it's not gonna break me. But I think that I'm super comfortable with like not getting the laugh. That and a lot of it sure is like maybe a little bit of delusion. But it's like fake it till you make it kind of mindset. Like you gotta believe that you're the best thing since sliced bread. I hate that phrase, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you got to believe in your ability and just like, go for it. Right. But yeah, I started doing the stand-up comedy like maybe a year ago now. And I think that it definitely has influenced, I guess, the way that I like work and lead the team. But I think more so the other way around. I think I've taken a lot more from like the public speaking to the stage and it helping me just be comfortable with like that. But I do find that, so bombing a set doesn't scare me, whatever.
Yeah.
In my mind, I never bomb a set.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's the delusion that matters. But I think that when you launch a map and you have a game out there that is riddled with bugs, which happens sometimes, that's a lot more stressful, honestly. Because you're like, oh my goodness, there's like thousands and thousands of people that are experiencing this. I'm only doing this to like 40, 50, maybe if I'm lucky, this, upwards of 100 people. But like there is a lot more people that are being affected by this when we're launching a game, and they're pretty vocal too. Whereas people in the audience, not necessarily as vocal, they're probably just gonna not literally not laugh, and that's the worst thing that they could do to me. But yeah, the player base can be quite vocal when they're confronted with a buggy game.
Yeah, which is good sometimes and bad. Yeah. But no, I hear you. So like you told me, okay, what are some of like, you've told me you've actually done some open micers at some crazy, like iconic, like comedy clubs. Like what, can you tell us which clubs?
So the highlight for me was last year in LA, I got an opportunity to do something called Set of the Night at the Comedy Store in the Belly Room. So
crazy.
I got to get on that stage that's been shared with so many amazing comedians and like, still is. But that was probably the highlight. It was a bucket mic. So I didn't have a guarantee of going up there. And there was, I think, maybe 20 comedians that got up out of probably like 80 or 90. Like there was so many people, and that's probably a lot. But like there was like 50 plus people on the list. And I got lucky, got pulled, got my 3 minutes. And after the set, somebody told me that like they're like, I love when a comedian comes and just rapid fires. Because I was like, oh my goodness, I've never done a set that's 3 minutes long. So I just like threw everything I had at them. I barely let them have time to like stop and laugh. Like I would just kind of talk over them and just continue going because it was a competition. So like the best people would go on to like a final round. A Comedy Store is probably the best one. If that's the highlight for me.
Amazing.
But I've gotten to do like plenty of other ones. Everywhere we go with, work, I try to sneak in some comedy on the side.
No, so cool, and such like a crazy transition, like career path. And I know you kind of just do it maybe for fun or I mean, you're serious about it, but I just really wanted to talk about that. I know we've talked about it in the past, and I'm a huge fan of comedy. I've been to the Comedy Store multiple times, and I can't, like, I've seen people bomb at the Comedy Store.
I'm thankful to say I didn't bomb. Like
That's
that's what I'm
amazing.
proud of, is that I didn't bomb. I had solid laughs every 15 seconds. Like I was pretty proud of that set.
Crushed it. Amazing.
There was a lot, like there was incredible comedians there. So like there's no way I was making it to the finals, but like there were some
Yeah.
really, really funny people. But it was, yeah, an experience of a lifetime for sure.
Yeah, I would be bragging to everybody.
I probably don't brag enough about it.
Probably not. No, well, here we are. I'm glad we could talk about it. So no, thank you for sharing that. I want to dive into kind of the next question, which is around like a health journey. I think it's kind of important to talk about, especially when you're leading a team and just kind of being healthy and keeping your mind sharp and stuff. So you've been open about your fitness and weight loss journey. How has that transformation influenced your work as a creator and leader?
So, I mean, yeah, I think if I go back to why that kind of started, when I first started creating, it was probably a year before the pandemic, and I was pretty active. You know, I had a dog. I just got a puppy at that point, like a year before the pandemic. But I was so obsessed with creating. It was all I did. And I think that that's like kind of the message to take away, is like it was really something I wasn't mindful about balance. And how important that is. And that's something that I ensure is passed along to my team. Like I always make sure, like there's quite a few people on our team that have kids, that have families, that have significant others. Like go spend time with your family. Like the work is not everything. Like you've got to make time for the things that actually really truly matter. And health is one of those things. It took me a while to get off my butt and actually start to take that seriously, but it's changed the way like I operate in general. Like routine is everything. Like trying to make sure you hit the gym every day, or every 6 days a week is my goal. Yeah, I'm on that push pull legs. So
Yes, let's say same.
yeah, push pull legs. Today was a push day, so it was pretty rough. But legs is the worst day. It's my favorite, but it's
Yes,
the worst one.
I
It's the
agree.
hardest because I run too. So I started running last
Oh,
year. So whenever I do a leg day, I can't run for like 2 days or 3 days. So it's you got to really balance it out. But yeah, I probably lost like close to 100 pounds at this point.
wow. Congrats.
So yeah, thank you. It was a very big, achievement, but I think that's, yeah, it taught me a lot about balance was the main takeaway, but it also like just gave me a lot more confidence, just knowing that I can do that I can set my mind to something and I can achieve it. I think that that's an invaluable takeaway, and something that I've definitely grown big time in that confidence area.
Awesome. No, you've been posting, I think, a little bit on your Instagram, which again, I'll have all of her links in the comments descriptions about some of your journey and stuff. I think it's really cool, and I think it's really something a lot of people don't talk about or want to be open about. But I think talking about myself, it's something I've taken seriously as well in the past few years. It's just like a cheat code. Like I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like no amount of coffee.
We sit all day, right? Like, you're sitting, you're focused on your games, you're looking at a screen. You gotta break away and go live in the real world
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, it's just like there's like, how are you gonna stress my day after I just lifted a bunch of weights?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what's worse than that? You know what I mean? Like I'm coming out of the gym. Like how are you gonna make ruin my day after doing that? But it's really is it is something that I just really wish I would have prioritized earlier. But like kind of like you said though, it was so early in the early days. We're all like starting our own companies and we're all like building games. Like we were on that grind.
It was hard to do anything else, because that was the focus. And I could look back and say like maybe there should have been more focus in the past couple of years with UEFN, but at the same time, I wouldn't change a thing. I
Yeah.
wouldn't change a thing. Maybe there's a couple things I would change, but I wouldn't change the way that I approached creating, the way that I approached working.
Yeah.
We used to work on weekends, all the time.
Yep.
And then once we formalized as a studio, we're like, okay, no more weekends. We got to have our time. We got to balance our lives, make time for the lives, and all of that. So
Yep. I think too, like creative, when UEFN came out, it kind of changed because 1.0, like we all, were doing a lot of everything. Like
yeah,
you would be involved because I think you even did some mechanics. Like you were
yeah.
kind of in there,
I
but you
still
did
do a little bit of
everything.
that, not as much as I used to, but
But
still dabble in verse, still dabble in not as much as I'd like to.
yeah, you don't, I mean, you're, running a studio, right? Like you have Twin, who's one of the best in the world at it, right? So like, why would it's not like you need to be in there, but like, I think kind of what happened with UEFN is we went more until you have a very small team. You didn't need a big team with different, facets in gaming to create games back then. So yeah, now it's like everyone
The
needs
skill
this
gap is so much
community.
bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no, very cool. All right. Well, since we're kind of talking about it, let's talk shop now. Let's get into it. Oh, your maps. You've had some really successful maps that have racked up crazy playtime. So I want to talk about what makes a Fortnite experience sticky and replayable in your eyes.
Well, first thing, XP, obviously. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's
Yep.
really what player, like as even myself, that's really what motivates me to play games for long periods of time is when I get great XP. But some of the games that we found that are the most successful are the ones that really are a tangent or a close, pairing to BR. So people are playing Fortnite to play Fortnite. They love Fortnite. And so you're going to get at least to be able to connect with a very, very large subset of the player base just by creating something that's akin to BR, right? So I think that that's what definitely helped us amass some like early plays, but building experiences that like offer something that's like more condensed, quick play, because you don't always have time to jump into BR. You don't always have time to play a full round. So building things like that, like the Vox Fight Zone Wars, that was a big one early in the early days, but we found that like leaning into the practice games category definitely helped. The more recent ones, like the Only Up Tower, was totally, hitching on a trend. And that's another important thing too, is if there's a great trend, you can definitely capitalize on that and jump in and try to create something that is different in some way or stands out. We didn't do a typical Only Up. We wanted to create like a more realistic type experience where you're climbing the tower, right?
That game was amazing. I know you guys have done. It got lots of plays. It's definitely had a lot, some really good playtime and discovery, and you guys crushed it. You didn't just copy the Only Up like everybody else was kind of doing at the time. You guys changed it a little bit and made your own spin. And I'll have that video up right now. But it was a really fun game mode, and I saw you guys were actually live opsing it pretty well. And games fluctuate a lot in this space, but you guys were able to rejuvenate it a few times.
Yeah, and that's another important thing is like if your experience is still getting players, it's really important to keep updating it. It's advice that I give, but I don't always take for myself. Like with my own personal games, that's something that they need updates. When you have a team, it's a little bit easier for sure, but that can rejuvenate something just by getting it into a discover row, especially with the new and updated tab. Those kinds of things are really important to create that sticky game and also to inform players that they're, we're paying attention to you. We're going to keep listening. If you have feedback, like share that with us. We want to make changes. But listening is also not just like listening on socials. It's listening to analytics, right?
Yeah.
So we've made a lot of changes based on what the analytics are telling us.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing I would say that's really important when creating like a game that's super engaging and exciting is focusing on like the fun piece, like what's fun, and also like how are you going to make sure that players know what to do right away? Because we're all lazy. We just want to know what to do, and we want to have the shortest time from starting the game to the fun. Like when does the fun start? And that should happen like almost instantaneously, like so they can just jump in and get started right away. Like time to fun should be as short as possible.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. Seriously, anyone listening, that's one of the most important pieces of advice. I would agree. Let's talk kind of about IPs and stuff you've worked on. We talked a little bit about it already, but I want to dive more into it. So you've teamed up with some heavyweight brands. When you turn an IP like MGM's Creed 3, ESL, Rocket League, Death Row Records, some maps for Epic Games, and more into Fortnite experiences, what's the secret sauce?
So I feel like probably the most important thing to take away is like, what is the goal, right? Like, what's the goal of that, that specific IP, or what are they hoping to achieve? So I love learning like why. Why do you want to build something in Fortnite? What are you hoping to like get out of it? And those goals are going to be different for everybody, but that's definitely going to inform what we're going to create. Like, is the goal to connect more with like BR players? Is the goal to specifically spread awareness for a specific thing? Is it to capitalize on the launch of a brand new skin like the Snoop Dogg, the Red versus Blue? Knowing why is, and this comes from the user experience design background, like I need to know what is important to all the stakeholders in play. Obviously, players need to know what's important. Like that's why Red versus Blue was the immediate call for a Snoop Dogg launch, because that's what's going to be important to players at that moment in time. Yeah, it definitely changes based on what the goals of the brand are, but working directly with the partner is crucial. So being able to have a direct line of communication with the IP owner, or, it's like, for example, working with ESL, that was something that was great because we had a direct line of communication with the competitors. So the people like, the competitors, the coaches, the people that were going to be playing this mode, we had a direct line of communication with them to be able to say, like, what do you like about this? What don't you like about this? What needs to change? Why is this not balanced? And then being able to watch them play was also really, really valuable. So those two things, like, why do you want to build in Fortnite? And then working directly with the stakeholders that are necessary to make sure that you're mindful of.
Yeah, creating maps for competitive play with prizes attached to it is super stressful. And it's so hard to balance games for casual players and pro players, or especially if you have both.
Yeah, that was actually a big challenge of those projects because
Yeah.
the brand ESL had two goals that went hand in hand, but they were competing with each other. So they wanted to create modes that were successful in the Discover ecosystem, but they also wanted to create highly balanced gameplay that was perfect for a 4v4 mode. And those two things, they don't really work well together.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a lot of give and take, and a lot of learning for us too, to figure out what to make and what to really prioritize. And ultimately we prioritized the cash prize pool gameplay.
Yeah.
Because that was a guarantee, right? We knew that was going to happen. We had no clue whether or not these were going to be picked up by Discover.
No, awesome. So staying on topic, I kind of want to talk about Project Pride and Creed and other projects that you've worked on. So looking at projects like Rivalry Knockout for Creed 3, or the recent Legends Landing map, the home of Fortnite competitive streams, which one of you're personally most proud of and why? What did it mean for you to see thousands of players interacting with something you helped create?
So this is going to be a multi-pronged answer because there's a lot of projects that I'm proud of, especially
Yeah.
But to keep it kind of brief, so in this recent season, we were the team that's handling the Legends Landing. So really, really proud of what we were able to achieve and build off of what Vicena had originally done, because their work was incredible. They built an amazing stadium that we were able to just build on top of. But our priority there was really just to make a recurring game mode that was going to keep players around, right? So that makes me really excited that is working, that we pitched this idea. We wanted to create something that was, we called it Rift Rumble. So we wanted to create Rift Rumble that you could jump into anytime during stream, off stream. You can jump in and play, and it's sticking. Like, we consistently have a pretty high player count, even when there's no stream. So that's something that is absolutely to be proud of. The pitch, the execution. A shout out to Brady and Logan on our team, who they did an excellent job building the BR arena in there, and then shout out to Twin, who did the vast majority of those mechanics and everything. But that's one that's probably the most recent thing that I'm really excited about. The overall, I'm definitely, that's not the most recent one. There's definitely another one that I'm gonna touch on. But the ESL modes were one of by far the most rewarding, because being able to be part of that, like, massive, prize pool. I can't remember the total prize pool, but it was like a crazy sum of money. Being able to be part of that, go to Riyadh, actually see this experience be played in real time, and see how hyped up people got, and it was so cool. It was like, and not only that, we created 4 incredible maps. Technically, we created 5, actually. We created 5 incredible maps with 3 separate game modes. There was a third game mode, and then that we did decide to scrap. But the amount of time we created this in, the amount of work that went into balancing these competitive modes was, like, insane. I'm so proud of what the team was able to put out, but also just proud of how it was received and how many people really wanted it back this year. And I don't expect it to happen this year, but definitely was the most rewarding by far. Even just seeing that small amount of players interact with it. It was the level of, like, competitive players that we were seeing interact with it and loving it was so rewarding. But then in, like, Legends Landing, seeing, like, all these, like, a couple thousand people on a day-to-day basis that are still enjoying it when there's no stream, like, that's awesome.
Very hard to do.
It is. And then more recently, so this is something we haven't, like, officially announced by any means, but we've been part of it kind of behind the scenes. So we're working closely with Happy Happy Gal on the recent release of Fashion Show Royale. So
amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a couple months that we've been doing this, but it is been so cool. And, like, this is one where I get, like, massive shout out to EJ, because he is, like, the absolute goat when it comes to this. He is, like, grinding so hard, but it's so cool to be able to, like, listen to players and actually, like, jump in, listen to the community, see people enjoying it, and make changes. Like, if you look on Fortnite GG on how this is doing and, like, see all the updates, like, it is mind blowing how many updates have gone out, but they're necessary, right? And
Yes.
We're making improvements every single time with each iteration, actually implementing feedback, listening to the community, and creating. Honestly, it's a sick fashion show. I play it quite a bit.
Amazing. I didn't know that you were behind that. So great. I know Happy Gal. She's awesome, a great influencer. So very cool. I'll definitely put some of the gameplay up on screen. No, that's amazing. And like you said earlier, your updates. See, you do it. You still do it.
We still do it. We still do it. But it's when the community is like really invested, then you have to do it, right?
Yes.
And that's a huge shout out to Happy Gal too. Like her and her team, they're incredible. The way that we work with them is so organic and nice, but coming from like she's the expert, right? She's the user that I need to talk to as a user experience designer. So she's giving us all the important information we need, but also has a direct line of like with the players, the real experience, and it's just done a great job in helping to design this game mode and really make it what players want, and then implementing new features which are slowly being taken by the other fashion shows. But that's definitely a brag because it means we're creating something that's connecting and it's very competitive with what's already out there.
No, 100%. That's the good and the bad with pushing a space. That's pushing a genre in this space, but there's also lots of valuable data I'm sure you guys have that a lot don't. And so being first sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah.
Most of the times it's a good thing. But no, very, very cool. So kind of moving on to the next question, let's kind of talk about community focus. From esports events to charity maps, why is community engagement so important to you? And moments that remind you why this work matters.
So the charity map you reference is something we did in partnership with the Anthros chairs. They are I think Anthros is the official like ESL chair now.
Okay.
Shout out to Anthros and ESL, two of our lovely partners.
Yeah.
But community engagement is like super, super important to us. Like just being able to connect with people that way and being able to build something for Anthros was really exciting because their foundation is, and this is personal to me. So like their foundation supports people with that need wheelchairs. So they'll raise money and send wheelchairs to places like Guatemala and people who need them.
Easy. And
these wheelchairs are like, they're just not like your average wheelchair. Like they're really cool. They're like extensible. Like they grow with you. They can change. So you only need one for your whole life.
Cool.
Right. And so if you know anybody who's in a wheelchair, like you need a new wheelchair as you grow. Like you need to, and especially for people who have illnesses like things like muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
Where you change rapidly over time. And so like I hold that really close to my heart because a friend of mine passed away a few years ago with muscular dystrophy, and when he passed, it was something that was always a struggle for him was his wheelchair, and he spent every day in that, all day long. Like that should not be the case, right? That shouldn't be the way. So it's super important to me that like working with Anthros to make this happen. This was something that I was personally driving and pitching to Anthros and trying to make sure that this happened. First of all, I wish I was sitting in one of those Anthros chairs because they're so freaking comfortable.
Oh wow, okay.
Eventually, maybe I will be
on screen. I'll definitely show off what they look like.
Well, if you go into the prop hunt map that we created, so it's called Office Prop Hunt for Anthros. You can see what the chairs look like. You can see a bunch of the varieties. They do a lot of partnerships with people like Dr. Lubo, like
amazing.
Tactical Grandma, who's in there recently. Dude Perfect. We did a little Dude Perfect area for the recent DreamHack challenge that was happening. But the one takeaway I would say is like jump into the map because a portion of anybody who plays the map will go to the Anthros Foundation directly and then help to send more wheelchairs to people in Guatemala and places like that. But you could just literally support by playing.
Incredible. Amazing. Yeah, I saw that initiative when on X and I love it. I love to see it. I love to see this space get more representation from charities and do similar things like that. I know it's hard to get, it's kind of hard to get particular like charity maps or things like that to get successful. So you definitely have to, I think you guys did it right. Put it in a prop hunt. You guys made that prop hunt, by the way. Your prop hunt is very advanced.
We love it. It's honestly one of my favorite games we've made too. I love that map and especially just like all the little features. Like we put a cool little, how in prop hunts you'll have that, I don't know why I'm doing this. You'll have that like remote. Well, that's why the remote that you can like place,
Atari.
Yeah, you can like place down props, right?
Yeah.
So we have that, but every time you place a chair, it's like a random chair. So there's like a whole bunch of chairs that it'll pick from. So it'll have like a different iteration or variation of it. So you can place down your decoy chairs.
So cool.
Yeah,
so that's what I mean. It's a prop hunt that you've like never seen before. It is very advanced and you guys push the space, I believe, with it.
It might have some references to The Office, the show as well.
But shout out. Go check it out. Go check it out. I'll definitely have showed some of that gameplay on the screen. So I want to talk about, next question is representation in gaming. I want to zoom out a little bit, okay? But as a female co-founder in the Fortnite space, what has your journey been like? Any surprises or hurdles? And what changes would you make the industry more welcoming?
So it's a tough question because
Oh, for sure.
in working with, like, I came from a tech background prior, so I was working in startups in my like local community in Waterloo, and that was something that was always the case. Like,
Mm,
representation is something that across every tech space, every gaming coworkers that would tell me that, as a like, you're never gonna make it in gaming. Like, it's so competitive. But it wasn't specifically something because I'm like a woman. It was literally just like gaming is competitive and it's
yeah,
hard to get
yeah,
in there. But that the challenges are doubled, right? Like, there's always going to be like that discrimination gap. There's always going to be that, like, there's those issues in the pay gap. And I don't want to get too deep into like the challenges for women in tech, but like we know that there's a lot of these things out there,
for
but
sure.
representation is everything. So it makes me really like proud that I can be somebody out there, that I can speak about this and be like, hey, I did it. Like, if you want to be in gaming, you
Yes.
can do it. Just, put your foot down and just keep going and advocate for yourself. And then also like find people who can be your advocates as well. So, like, Ben's is great. Ben's is fantastic, and I love working with him, and he'll do everything he can to like lift me up in the same way. So, but representation in UEFN, we don't have enough women doing this. Like, I think that that's the number one thing I would change, is like highlighting more women. It's not just about that, like, yes, we're women doing the same thing you are too, yay, but it's
Yeah,
more about like that, as somebody younger who's seeing role models that look just like them or that are just like them. And the same thing goes for people of color too. Like, there's not enough prominent people of color in the space that are
yeah,
vocal and that can bring those opportunities and say, hey, you can do this too. So role models, representation is huge. Obviously there's always going to be difficult people throughout, working in tech, in any industry really.
yeah.
So I think that would be probably the hurdle to overcome, is that, there's times where you're not taken seriously. There's times where somebody might be speaking, replying to you, but they're not looking at you. They're looking at,
Ugh,
Ben's, right? Like, that happens all the time. And it's like unfortunate, but at the same time, like, I just kind of like, let it roll off my back, and it doesn't
yeah.
really matter because, I know that I know what I'm doing, and I know
Oh,
that I
yeah.
can advocate for myself. And I'm going to be the one that answer the question, whether or not you're looking at me.
Yeah.
So
Look over here.
yeah. So, and it just like there's not a whole lot we could do to make it more welcoming, but I think that just like representation is the hardest thing that we've got to overcome. And networking, yeah, like
Yeah,
creating, finding role models that, like, I'm very close with MacJack.
yeah.
We definitely like, talk the tea sometimes about like what's going on and if there's anything that like, we need to be aware of or whatever. But yeah, networking, having good connections, finding your mentors, finding people that you can work closely with, and advocate for you too.
No, great answer. And look, it is a tough question, but I just, I kind of asked a similar question to Mac Jack on the previous episode, and I just think you guys are just predominant figures in our space. Take away the female, male, whatever title, you and Mac Jack, you're doing it. You are leaders in this space, regardless of what anyone thinks or ever says. And you guys have done amazing things. And I've seen you at events. I've seen you in professional settings and crushing it. Like, you guys are scary. Like, you are. I mean, you
Beast.
are leaders in our space. So no, I just like, I want to ask the question, and it's a bigger solve. This is a bigger thing. It's not, this is bigger than, this goes in a lot of industries, but I think it's just very important to talk about it, keep it front in mind. And I encourage anybody, any diversity to, follow your dreams. Don't let just because you don't see yourself maybe in that space doesn't mean you can't be there. And, I want to be able to maybe give that voice to anyone in a public setting as well to push it. So no, thank you for being candid about that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked the question. I think it's like we said, it's an important
Yeah.
topic. It's common. It affects every industry, but it's especially a problem that there's no real solution other than be an advocate and be somebody that you can support
Yeah.
other people. And yeah, diversity matters, but the right person for the job ultimately is what matters most. And a lot of times we're just as qualified, if not more.
For sure. For sure. So I want to kind of move gears and kind of talk about advice for new creators. So there's plenty of up and coming devs that tune in. And what is your top tier advice to newcomers, and maybe some advice on how can they break into the game creation or the space?
Well, simple answer is just start. just start
Yeah.
doing it. Like, just start doing it, because you're never gonna, you're never gonna get anywhere if you don't start, right? Like, that's the first,
Yeah.
like, if you want to do a run, if you want to go for a run, you gotta get up and you gotta take a couple steps, right? Like, you gotta go there. So first step is just decide to start. Like, download UEFN, get into the tool. If you come from a programming background, learn Verse. Like, that is probably the number one thing I would take away. If you're a brand new programmer, learn Verse. Or if you're a brand new developer, learn Verse. Like, that's always going to be the answer, is like, get in there and learn the tool set, because that is the future. Not only is that the future of UEFN, that's the future of UE. So
Yeah.
like, it's going to get there eventually. So like, that's going to be the best thing to like future proof yourself as a developer. But practice making small things. Take advice from Tom Jank. He's one of those great people who entered the space with, he was not, UEFN developer since day one. Like, well, he was with UEFN, but like, he wasn't a Fortnite creative developer since day one. He jumped in and he showed people what he could do, and he built a name for himself. So if you can build small things that excite people, that get them talking, get them reposting it, get them sharing it with their teams, being like, this is so cool, you're going to make a name for yourself and people are going to want to work with you. But beyond that, if you're a new creator and you don't have connections in the space, like, try to connect with people on your level, right? Like, who are at the same learning speed as you, because you can go through those things together. You can learn together. You can, share advice, share like little things that you've discovered. It's going to be a lot more difficult to reach out to somebody who's been doing this for so long. Number one, because there's other priorities a lot of the times. I'm always going to take some time out if somebody does reach out to me, but a lot of times I'm going to really say, like, there's point them in the right direction. There's documentation. Twin's excellent for this as well.
Yeah.
Twin has unlimited patience, and I don't know how he does it. But he's always responding to people in Discord. He's always like making sure that he's able to give advice. But yeah, like, try to work with people at a similar level, share insights, and learn together.
That's a great answer. And so Twin, like yourself, and they've been around since basically the beginning, or very, very early on. And I'm sure a lot of people in the development community and Fortnite specifically know who Twin is. If you're not, go check him out. But he has helped so many people in our space learn programming and mechanics, and to the point where I think like a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of early maps that like were the #1 maps in the space, he was like for free helping them with mechanics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's also making those maps, competitive maps, not copy, like, and trying to compete with them. So like, that's the kind of person he is. You know what I mean? Like, and to almost a detriment. Like, I'm like Twin. I like, you could do that map or whatever. Whatever you could make that. Not a lot of people can do that. Like, back early on, I was a top programmer in the 1.0 space, and so same with Twin. So like, there really wasn't a lot of people that could do mechanics at a high level in that space, in this space. And me and him were very close and talked a lot. But yeah, I just remember I'm like, man, you do that. Stop doing that for that map, because you would have the #1 map, but. That's just not him, and I get it. I helped out a lot of people, and I would help people with my mechanics, but like, I would also, do that sometimes if I made new mechanics or crazy things. It'd be the first in my maps,
not
in someone else's. So no, I mean, it's more of just a testament to Twin and who he is, and he's a great person, and yeah, very, very, very talented, and yeah,
he's gonna love this, by the way.
No, I think he told me, which is crazy, that he, I think, started because of some of my tutorials or something. Somehow he saw some of my videos, and he that's kind of how it started.
Do you know he started building on a Switch?
Yes, I did, which is insane.
Crazy. He's got to be a guest of yours in the future.
Oh, I would 100%. It will happen. I would love to have him on. It'll be a very fun conversation to have. We'll definitely get him on. He's awesome. But anyway, yeah, go check out Twin if you haven't. He's definitely a Mount Rushmore of Fortnite creative, I believe. So, okay. So this is one of the hardest questions.
Oh,
yes. So 5-year outlook, crystal ball time. Where do you see 404 Creative in 5 years? Sticking with Fortnite or branching into other platforms or standalone games?
So like you said, this is an insanely tough question.
Yeah.
When I look back to like every year that we've been a studio has been incredibly different from the last. Year 1 was a lot of brand projects. Year 2 is a lot of brand projects, a lot of individual projects. Year 3, brand projects, more individual projects, and like, UEFN for year 3 and 4. But we had to pivot at every step of the way. So like I said, insanely tough question.
Mm-hmm.
But quite honestly, I just hope 404 is around doing this in 5 years' time. If I'm going to be like completely candid with you, like 404 is becoming, we're going back to the place where we began, right? Like started from the bottom, now we back. But
Yeah.
in terms of that, a lot of us are having to resume full-time positions, or having to take jobs elsewhere because the ecosystem is just quite not enough. It's not helping us, sustain our studio any longer. But being able to pivot year to year, I think that in 1 year's time, we're still going to exist. I expect us still to be around, but we're just going to be operating at a different level, different, format. There's probably going to be a lot of changes.
Mhm.
But I couldn't tell you where we'd be in 5 years. I hope that we're still doing Fortnite and working in UEFN. I expect that a lot of us will still be developing in Verse. I expect a lot of us, especially 5-year outlook, if Verse is becoming something that's a big part of Unreal Engine, I expect a lot of us to be working in Unreal Engine there. And I expect that to be a big job market in the whenever that does hit UEFN, or from UEFN to UE, that Verse is going to be something that a lot of UE developers haven't touched.
Yeah.
And are going to need to skill up really quickly. So in 5 years' time, I expect that, a lot of us are going to be more focused on Verse.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Fortnite space is what we know best, right? And that's kind of
Mhm.
where, and the Fortnite ecosystem, the Fortnite tool set, and Verse as a programming language, but those things can expand into UE, like we've said. But Fortnite as a metaverse is definitely ultimately like the full, that's the attraction. Like it's the
Yeah.
only platform that has managed to get to this point of actually being on the cusp of being like a true metaverse. Yeah, we're missing like the things like the massive multiplayer online RPGs. Like we're missing those elements, but we have all the ingredients, right? So it's
Yeah.
just a matter of like getting there. So I expect that, hopefully in 5 years' time, there's like a massive multiplayer online RPG that's Fortnite based, that, you
Yeah.
can be Goku, you can be Naruto,
Yeah.
you can play your favorite games with your friends just like that. But yeah, like the Fortnite space is what we know best. I expect to say here. We are currently open to new clients. So we would
There you go.
we would love to ultimately work with more studios, because we've got a great team, like a great small team. Well, maybe not small by many people's, but like there's 8 of us, right? Great small team. We'd love to work with other studios. We'd love to work with, brands more with like other various partners. But I think that there's a lot of skills that we have to offer, and we work really well as a team, that, we'd be super open to working with anybody, because we want to stay in the space. We don't want 4-4 to go away. We all want to continue doing this in some way or another.
Yeah, no, thank you for being so candid. And I think, Mac Jack, and there's some people have been public a little bit on X about similar things they've gone through in this ecosystem currently. I think you have such a strong team. You have such a strong knowledge of Fortnite creative and this space. So, this is my ongoing saying. I think I'm gonna, but like, I don't think it's a matter of how, but when. So
Yeah.
I know all of you over at 404. I've met you all personally. We've all hung out together. You have an amazing, tight knit group and very talented, very passionate team. And yeah, I think that was great advice too about the idea of the metaverse, right? That we're all, there's lots of different pictures of what that's going to be like. But I think Epic is at the forefront of it. And, in 5 years, which is insanely, it's no one knows. It's a huge guess. But by that time, I mean, who knows what Fortnite will look like, what Unreal Engine will look like. I mean, we're supposed to be all being in Unreal 6 potentially by then.
Yeah.
Who knows how this all shakes up. So yeah, no, it's just kind of a fun question, make you think, like, but yeah, who really knows? But no, thanks again for kind of sharing that. So kind of touched on some of the current projects you've been on and some of the big IP brands that you've worked with, but I kind of want to speak about what you guys are cooking up right now. What kind of, what projects are the team cooking up, and anything that you can tease today. And also, please, like, any shout outs you want to drop.
Yeah, for sure. So upcoming projects, we've got a couple things that we've been working on for some time. I don't know necessarily that, like, I didn't clear it with the team, so I don't know if I should mention it. But we were working on a couple of really, really cool game modes that are, they're popular game modes. We've got 2 that have been in the works for months now. They've been something that we've been, doing in the back. We are so close to releasing both of them, but it still might be a little bit of time. It's that last 10% that takes 90% of the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No kidding.
we're in that kind of place right now. But there's 2 definitely big ones coming out. I can tease what they are right now to you, and then I'll let you know for sure that if you can put it in.
That's fine. Yeah, this won't release until I think we got 3 weeks.
Okay. So I'll definitely clarify
2 weeks.
for sure. But
yeah.
there's 2 games that we're working on pretty in depth, and we have been working for like 6 months or so. So we've got a really cool Tycoon in the backlog that's,
Ooh.
been cooking for a while. Losh did some incredible work on this Tycoon. Some of the level design just looks amazing. But the
I'm sure.
big one that I'm the most excited about that we hired one of my comedian friends as a voice actor for, and it is so freaking cool. It's a
Okay.
roguelike.
Okay.
And so we have some like real voice actors in there. We've got some like really it's a really sweet experience. So can't wait for
Okay.
that to come out. I really really hope that that's in the near future.
Can't wait. Can't wait to see that. No, two very popular genres in our space right now. So and I can't. The minds at 404 will definitely cook up something awesome. So I can't wait to see that. Hopefully we can announce this.
Yeah, I really hope so. I'll clear that with it really just got to check with Twin and be like, what's the real ETA on this?
Yeah, all good, all good. No worries, no worries. Don't want to get no one in trouble. So
But sorry, I want to add one last thing that I
yeah,
can, because you said if I wanted to highlight anybody specific. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but like working with Happy Happy Gal, huge thing. Working on this fashion show, that's probably the biggest thing. So like there's going to be continuous updates to that. So like please check that one out. Let us know what you
yeah,
think as well. But it's been super successful. We've been completely quiet on socials about this, and it's done
yeah.
well. It's gotten like it's been able to compete with some of the top fashion shows out there. So it's called Fashion Show Royale. But EJ, like I said before, he has done an incredible amount of work on this game. Yes, there's other people on our team like Kyle, Losh, myself.
Yeah.
Like everybody on our team has touched this at some point or another. But EJ is like day in, day out, like dedicated to the success of this game, and he's doing such an incredible job. So huge shout out to EJ and like actually creating and cultivating something that's doing really well and going to continue
Yeah.
to do well. I'm confident of that.
Amazing. And that's super smart. Just teaming up with a top creator influencer in the space. And, you have somebody on your team. Your team is very active in it and watching what's going on and making updates. No, like you're doing it perfect.
We're in
So
every one of her streams. Okay. We're watching all of them. So
amazing. No, perfect. No, amazing. Amazing. So yeah, where can people follow you?
you can follow me on Instagram at Jessica Jean Army, or on X at YoJJ47, YOJJ47. That's the one. But
Okay.
I also have an Instagram under that name, but I don't use it anymore. But yeah, that's the best place to follow me is, Instagram, Jessica Jean Army, or YoJJ47.
Okay. And look, in the comments, in the description, I'll have all of her links and their team links, so you can check them out.
But definitely follow our team too. So at 404FNC on every platform.
Definitely. Awesome. All right. This is the big one now. Maybe the scariest question of the whole podcast. So the lightning round. So this is where I ask rapid fire questions, 3 fun, I don't know, maybe they're not fun questions, and you have very short time to answer. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Favorite Fortnite skin or emote, and why?
I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to give you both answers. So Jules,
Okay.
the classic Jules.
All right, let's go.
Love that one. Always my favorite. With the overalls, best one. That's the one I use almost all the time. Right now I'm probably wearing something else, but that one. And then anybody who knows me or has hung out with me at any event where there's dancing knows that I can crush the wiggle emote. And so the wiggle emote is my favorite emote.
Let's go. You do this at events?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
I haven't seen this?
You will.
Okay, all right.
You will.
So that's amazing. That's like one of the best answers. Okay, perfect. All right. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
If any comedian could cameo in a Fortnite event, which you just told me you've already done this, which is hilarious, who would you pick and what mini game would you build?
Okay, so Tim Robinson. If anyone knows who Tim
Okay.
Robinson is, I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. He's like one of my favorite comedians of all time. He's like the
Hilarious.
funny man of this, this decade. So Tim Robinson, absolutely, because I know that his crazy brain would come up with some really cool way of integrating into the game. But there's a skit where it's called Egg Game, where there's just like this. He's like rapidly feeding eggs to I think it's like literally another egg. But like that's the game I would want to create, is like feeding the eggs to it and then having some sort of a celebration. Anyone who's seen that skit will get why it needs to be like
Okay,
a
I might
little
have to
bit
find it and put it on
safer for
screen.
work. Maybe not, but
Okay.
you can find that part.
Yeah.
The part where
I
he's
got
just,
you.
there's a meme where
Yeah.
he's just going, like that. But it's so funny. I think that like that would be my comedy crossover, is Tim Robinson. Absolutely. Tim Robinson, if you're out there, if you ever watch this, if you happen to be a Fortnite fan, call us, please.
Amazing. Okay. So last lightning round question. dream brand or IP you'd love 404 Creative to tackle next?
Oh my god, like I said, that's a hard one. But Tim Robinson, yeah, absolutely every time. But another one that is on my bucket list, and we've tried, is Baby No Money.
Baby No Money? I've never heard of this. What is this?
What? The musician.
Baby No Money.
BBNO $.
BBN. Oh my gosh, I've been saying that wrong for a long time.
You're saying
That's
Baby Nose?
embarrassing.
I'm gonna send him a clip of this. Baby No Money for
Yeah.
sure. I think that him and Fortnite, like in some way or another, the stuff that he puts out online is
Yes.
crazy. It's so silly. It's so cringy sometimes, but it's funny. It's like very current. I just
He
think that
dr-
him and Fortnite creating something in UEFN would be absolutely bonkers. It'd be the most silly, crazy
Yeah.
thing we'd ever see. So
Yeah, he's done like he'll dress up in certain like a unicorn or whatever.
yeah, he does
I-
cosplay. He did a like Sonic cosplay recently. That was like so
Yes.
funny.
Yes. That'd be awesome. Yeah, they have to put him in a festival. He needs to
Oh
come
my goodness,
over and get a map.
100%.
No, those are great answers. No, thank you so much for sharing those. And yeah, that's a wrap. That's kind of the episode. This was really fun, really enlightening. Thank you for sharing everything about 404 Creative and yourself. And seriously, congrats on all the upcoming projects you've been getting lots of success on as well, from Legends Landing to Happy Gal, all those cool things. So yeah, excited to continue to follow your journey. I'll see you and your team soon at Unreal Fest. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's always a fun thing to talk about yourself. So
No, seriously, we'll definitely have to get you on again another time. Great time.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks so
All
much.
right, later.
Bye.
That wraps up another episode of Creative Juice. Huge shout out to JJ Armstrong, Josh Benzing, and the entire 404 Creative crew for joining and sharing their journey, the projects they've launched, and the lessons they've learned. From working with brands like Creed 3, ESL, Rocket League, Death Row Records, and Epic Games to pushing what's possible in Fortnite, their impact speaks for itself. If you want to see what 404 Creative is up to, hit the links in the description. I also want to hear from you. Share what you've learned or any feedback by tagging Immature Gamer X on X, and I'll read and reply to as many as I can. If you enjoyed the show, hit like, follow, and subscribe. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please drop a quick rating or review. It really helps out. Thanks for listening. Don't hate, create.